More rain on the way through the overnight hours into tomorrow, which is great for the gardens and the flowers. You can take the inside plants out, get some of that moisture that is so needed for the gardens. That
some rain, but it's a good thing for Calgary and all those dry flower beds.
We need it. The flower beds, the gardens, we've been working so hard on planting them, trying to bring them to life, and it's been really difficult with the water restrictions. And a great idea to bring your indoor.
Welcome everyone to the Onstage podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. The one who's smiling here is Courtney Stanfield. And I don't know if you believe this, but she's a seasoned Canadian broadcaster known for her engaging presence as a weekend weather anchor on Global News Hour at 6 and Global News at 11. But you recently left a couple of months ago.
Taking a little summer hiatus. I have little kids, childcare, always a thing. All the parents out there, I know you get it. So yes, currently on a little summer break with the kids.
Yep. And my recent co-host some time ago would have loved to interview you because she loves interviewing newscasters and everything. So with your journalism degree from Mount Royal University, and a career spanning four provinces, and all major national networks, Courtney has worn many hats: producer, reporter, traffic anchor, and multimedia journalist. After 8 impactful years in a morning show at CTV Calgary, she shifted gears in 2023 to prioritize family life. A mother of 3 and mental health advocate, Courtney channeled her passion for emotional wellness in creating Air Out, which we will talk about. That's an app. It's a groundbreaking anonymous app designed to help people vent, confess, and celebrate without judgment or backlash. I think I might join it.
You should.
Her work has earned her awards from the Canadian Mental Health Association and St. John Ambulance, and the journey continues to inspire. Thank you, Courtney Stanfield, for being here. Really appreciate you being on our show.
I'm excited to be here. This is awesome. I feel like we align in many ways, so this should be a great conversation.
I love it. Yes, I love it so much. So let's go back to the beginning. I want to ask you, what inspired you to pursue journalism and broadcasting?
I was very young. I grew up in Winnipeg, and Diana Swain, who was a national anchor at the time, I believe, she lived in our neighborhood. And so as an early teenager, I think 13 or 14, I used to see her in the community. And I thought, wow, that is really cool. I think I want to do that. And that's all it took, was having a really awesome and inspirational neighbor live just a few streets down to completely change the trajectory of my life. But that's what brought it on, and applied to journalism school, came out to Calgary, earned my journalism degree from Mount Royal University, and then started the media hustle, which we can get into. But that explains why so much movement in a short amount of time.
Tell us about the media hustle.
So it's a little different now because media is really a challenged industry now. And even 15, 20 years ago, it was a completely different place to work. And there are way more jobs, way more opportunities, way more stations. It was harder to get gigs. Now everything is streamlined. Everything has been cut back. It's no doubt that it's a very challenging industry to be in. But at the time, when you got out of school, you would move to a small station, radio or TV, where you kind of cut your teeth, get some experience, and then you'd apply for the next job and maybe a little bit of a bigger city. So you'd go to, Lloydminster or Brandon, Manitoba, Swift Current, and then you'd work your way up to maybe Lethbridge or Thunder Bay, or maybe perhaps Halifax. And then you work your way up to the next market size and the next market size. So it's always kind of this hustle. You put in a year or two at a smaller station, and then you work your way up. And so I lived and worked in 4 provinces: Manitoba, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. And in Alberta is where I met my husband, who was also doing the media hustle. And he had come from a number of gigs, even more provinces further reaching. And then we started life here in Calgary. So we've been stationed here for, almost 10 years now. So we are together here, stopped at the chronic moving between both of us.
What was it like growing up? Were you like the type of girl that would like stare at watching like the weather and newscasts just to see how it's all done, or?
Yes, TV always fascinated me. Entertainment always fascinated me, especially bigger TV, like scripted comedies, sitcoms, even movie productions. But growing up in Winnipeg, LA seemed like an entirely different world that was never going to be for me. But I've always been fascinated by, the sets, the lights, the cameras, the action, the team, the
Mhm.
hustle, the intensity of it all. So I thought, well, how can I do that on a local level? How can I have some fun in television? Without moving to LA, which was impossible really at that point in my life. Still would be, I think, with visas and whatnot. But yeah, so it was just kind of an accessible way to get into an industry that was always really fascinating and fun for me.
So, how did your time at Mount Royal University shape your approach to media?
It was amazing. That's such a great program. Shout out to all the teachers and instructors and staff there because it really was so instrumental and really hands-on. And if you're like me, you learn best hands-on. You could be in school for 10 years, but that's never going to replace 1 year on the job when you're actually
Mhm.
doing it. And they built in 2 lengthy 4-month-long practicums, and they help you line up with different media industries or public relations, whatever stream you were interested in, to get real work experience. So to have 2, mini jobs under my belt upon graduation really helped you realize what you're interested in, what you actually want to do, and where you want to take that career.
Yeah, when you were at CTV Calgary for the 8 years, like your very first day, what was that like? Like, how did they teach you to go like this and stare at the screen? And how did they teach you to be the weather host or the weather news? Or
Well, that kind of comes with the practicums early on in school, and then your initial stations. By the time you get to CTV Calgary, Global Calgary, you have a sense of what you're doing. Even 15 years ago, you would have to have worked for at least 15 years to even possibly get your foot in the door. So these are really, large market established stations. But at CTV Calgary, I was doing morning traffic actually. And that was new for me because prior to that, I was hosting breakfast television in
Mhm.
Winnipeg. I was hosting and anchoring, which was such a great job. That will always be probably the best job I've ever had in my entire life. So much fun. But they closed down. It was right
Mm.
when media really started cutting back. So that station shut down, lost my job. That was really emotional, really hard for me. It was a
Mm.
complete deconstruction of who I was. Because when you work in media, it really quickly becomes entwined with who you are. And you don't know who you are without that title, without that position, without that name to hide behind, if I'm being really honest and vulnerable with you. So it was very difficult. Dark days during that period. And then I just started applying for jobs that were open. One in Calgary opened up. And again, Winnipeg was my hometown and I was loving working there. So to move again was really
Mm.
hard to leave family. And then I wasn't really ever interested in traffic, to be honest, but I needed a job. I wanted to work in TV. So I came here and it was really hard for, let's say, the first 6 months. It was just a constant reminder of what I didn't have anymore and what I was missing. And that really tore me down in a city where I didn't know anybody. I didn't have friends. I didn't have family. And I had this job that was making me feel less and less like myself every day.
Mm.
But then with time, I don't know if it was healing of the wound of losing that job and that sense of self, but all of a sudden, I just kind of threw myself in and I committed and things just became easier. And all of a sudden, I really started to connect with people there and it became fun. And then the next year, Kevin, my husband, started on the morning show as the weather
Wow.
anchor. So we were weather and traffic. We met and it was an instant connection. Within a week, we bought a ring and moved in together. We were engaged a few months later, which people at the station were not that
Oh,
happy
you're.
about. I mean, somewhere, of course, but overall, concerned about the optics for the show and if we really knew what we were doing and how potentially that could impact what the show would look like. So there was some concern if we were being serious, which is fair. I mean, we were moving very quickly. And then, yeah, we got married just a few months later and then we publicly announced it on the show, and then we found out we were expecting twins, which we announced on the show, and we shared our pregnancy journey. We did a live gender reveal for the twins during our morning celebration segment, which was so fun, and it really became family. So it started off really hard but it became exactly what I needed. And it actually shaped my entire life. Being there was hard and made me adjust and learn and grow. And then ultimately brought me to Kevin, which is when my entire personal life took off. So I don't believe in setbacks. I believe in set-ups. I believe that every challenging chapter, there is something good on the other side. And you just don't know. So you just stay and you keep putting one foot in front of the other and giving it your all. And things do seem to work out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. You did that same thing happen on the news floor where the boyfriend would propose to the girlfriend or the boyfriend who's actually doing the news, and they actually film it, and yet you answered it right there.
Okay, but it's funny because I had watched that video many times in my 20s when I was single. I met Kevin when I was 30. But I'd watched that and I thought, oh, that would be so fun. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen to me. He's going to come and propose while I'm live on air and it'll be a whole thing. He did not. But little did I know that I would actually be marrying the guy on air. So kind of a similar story, but a little bit different. He proposed at home quietly. Maybe that's because our lives are so public that maybe, you know, those moments to be a bit more private. But yeah, so it did fall along those lines in some way.
Yeah. We also, for CP24, we have a newscaster by the name of Nick Dixon. Now, this is funny, but in the UK, they have a Nick Dixon who's a newscaster, and they both met and they started talking to each other back and forth. Say, hey, Nick Dixon, how's it going, Nick Dixon? So I'm thinking, was there a time in your 8 years in CTV that Calgary that there was like a similar person, same name, doing the same thing that you had communicated with, or there was some sort of surprise that they that kind of filmed, like they turned the green screen off, or you were supposed to come in and there were like, do you have a story that you can tell us that, like, I've heard
I've
many things.
I've never met another Courtney Stanfield, but my maiden name is Ketchen. And I did find a Courtney Ketchen through Facebook, of course, which is such a great way to find people. Back then, when people use their real names, now we all have, you know,
Yeah.
fake names, short names, middle names, whatever. But found her maybe like 15 years ago. And then she ended up having twins too. So
Wow.
two Courtney
There you go.
Ketchens having twins, and I followed her journey and she followed mine, and we had never
Story
met,
right
but
there. Yeah.
it was really cool to see that. Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that every year there's a Lois Smith convention. Everyone in the States, wherever the Lois Smith is, they all get together in one room.
So fun. I
I
like
know,
that.
eh? Imagine a Courtney Stanfield convention.
Yes.
So you were working across 4 provinces. How did that influence your storytelling style?
Well, I think the more places you go, the more people you meet, the more you're influenced, the more you learn. So it's always a really positive thing to expose yourself to different environments and different people and ways of doing things. Especially when I went from Red Deer, Alberta to Thunder Bay, Ontario, I found there was a huge shift there. And Thunder Bay, Ontario at the time, they had been using a totally different editing system. So I had to go back and learn an editing system that was almost obsolete because we had moved into a digital world, but they still hadn't. They had since, but this is many, many years ago. So it was really interesting, even though you think you've moved beyond, to go back. It's almost like teaching young people now how to use a VCR or, you know, a Discman. So it was really fascinating that way to be able to learn. But yeah, every voice has something that you can take from it. So I just think it was the more experience you had, the better off you were. And especially when you get to the bigger markets and then you're learning from reporters that have 20, 30 years of experience under their belts, that's where you really, you know, shut your mouth, open up your ears and take in as much as you can and learn from as many people as you can, because there's so much knowledge there that can be handed down if you're willing to hear it.
Yeah, my brother and his wife, they lived in Thunder Bay, Kakabeka Falls, around there.
Oh, yes, kind of waterfall, outdoorsy
Yep.
cascade area.
And
Yes.
and like, I know I should say that was my fault, but nobody in the family wanted to go drive all the way down to Thunder Bay to visit him, so he moved back here to Barrie, and Barrie's like only an hour from me, so I can take a GO train up there. So,
That's nice. That's good.
okay,
Yeah, Thunder
but
Bay is far.
yeah, but so what challenges, Courtney, did you face transitioning between roles like producer, reporter, and anchor? How did that work for you?
think at times it came naturally. So when I was at breakfast television, again, I started off as the news anchor, and then there was an opening for the host. So at the time, they thought they would amalgamate the position. So it was just kind of taking on something in addition to what you already know. Writing, presenting news is very different from lifestyle hosting. So it was two separate parts of my knowledge base and also my personality that were being showcased at the same time. So it was really interesting to flip back and forth and be really fun and conversational and light with a guest. And then 2 minutes later, serious and focused about what's actually happening in our community. So there's this unique tap dance that happens when you are doing different roles, which is really fun. And you develop a skill set very quickly being able to do that. But every role is different. I've always favored on-air roles because I like the adrenaline of it all. I think it's so much fun. Live TV is always better than scripted TV or even pre-recorded TV. It's almost like a joke in the industry that anyone that works in TV knows that doing it live is way more fun than pre-recording because it gets in your head and you know that if you make a mistake, you can redo it or, you can edit it after the fact. When it's live, you are held to that moment and you just have to get through it. And that's when you do your best work, when this pressure's on. So that is always kind of my favorite place to be.
I'm letting you know, Courtney, that my first 30 episodes were live stream, and so many things can go wrong, but it's too late. You've recorded it. It's online. Now, after the 30th episode, I decided just to pre-record. Now I'm going to ask you this. I've seen all the videos on YouTube about live mishaps in the newsroom. Have you had any?
Oh, sure. There have been many over the years. Trying to think of a few good ones. It usually comes down to anchors having a moment, like something being really funny behind the scenes and not being able to stop the laughter and not being able to control yourself and having to cut to break early. And you're trying so hard not to laugh, but you are. And then the harder you try not to, the more you do laugh. And so then it becomes like a whole thing. So yeah, cutting to break early, having to, shift gears in that sense, guests being totally caught off guard and, having dead air on TV, which is never a good thing. So having to fill the space, being live on location and having people pop up in the background saying and doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So you're really at the mercy of everything and anyone around you at any given time. And it's not what happens, but it's how you handle it that matters.
Yeah, it's so fun watching these videos. I'm like, oh, you have to go home and you're laughing. I didn't believe what happened today. That's kind of
Yes.
funny. But so what did you enjoy most about being a weather specialist at Global News?
Weather was really fun. It was a nice shift from traffic because it's a very similar format in how you're presenting. And that was really interesting. And weather is great because so many people engage with weather. There were always emails and viewers to talk to and community involvement and people sending great photos. And it's one thing that really connects us all. So I really enjoyed that weather is something we are all experiencing, we are all impacted by, and something we can bond over. At first, we were always laughing in the industry about why people care so much about weather. Like, why is it such a big thing? But it is, and people do care. And of course, you get into the seriousness of, farming and industries that actually rely on weather, and we need to know the forecasts and the drought conditions and what we're expecting for the season ahead. But day to day, people are still very passionate about weather. So it's a lot of fun to do something that people are paying attention to and that they enjoy talking about, because that continues outside of the show and in person at the grocery store or at school drop off or whatever it may be. We're talking weather.
Yeah. How did you prepare for your weekend weather segments? What is the first thing you did?
Well, I am not a meteorologist, and I will absolutely give credit to meteorologists who have earned that 4-year degree. It is a very intensive scientific program, and no doubt they have knowledge far beyond a weather specialist, which I am. So while I have a base knowledge and understanding of weather patterns and forecasting, I don't have the same in-depth study that, say, my husband does, who is an actual meteorologist. So My secret weapon was actually him in my back pocket. So if things were looking a little tough or unpredictable weather-wise, I would just call him or send him a text and ask him to help break it down. So I learned so much secondhand through his
Nice.
experience that made me such a stronger broadcaster and more knowledgeable. But it's that same thing we were talking about, right? Like you learn from people.
Hmm.
And when you're willing to ask and you're willing to learn, that's where you gain that knowledge. You don't have to go to school necessarily to understand more about topics you're interested in. It's about talking to people, engaging with people, which is a beautiful thing about TV too. Doing segments was one of my favorite things because it was just this constant stream of wonderful people, community changers, people doing stuff outside the box, making a difference, that were coming into the studio every day and bringing their energy and their light. And so that
Wow.
was always a highlight too. But to back it up, yes, I'm very fortunate. I had a secret weapon in my back pocket who was very helpful along the way. And I would say just experiencing it. Once you go through the seasons enough, you start to understand weather patterns more and what to expect. So it's one of those things you just kind of have to do as well, on the job training, so to speak.
Wow, that's amazing. What do you think is the one misconception people have about weather broadcasting?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I think there's like that hokey, funny, big personality guy stereotype, which is funny because my husband actually is like that guy. But not everybody is, a huge jokester. Not everybody is out there just to, entertain and put on a show. Some people are really passionate about the information and they actually really want to translate that to help people. So I think there is that image of that weather guy. We can all think of him. And also the fact that you can be wrong. That's like such a classic joke. Oh, being a weather person is the only job where you can be totally wrong and still get paid. And we hear that all the time. And so it's like, well, even the experts, the people that, have 8, 12 years of schooling that are actually calculating forecasting, even they can be wrong. Mother Nature at the end of the day is in charge, and we can do our best with the tools that we have and the information that we have to anticipate what's going on. But ultimately, none of us are in charge of that.
Y- That's totally true, Courtney. Totally true. Do you think your role in media evolved since stepping back in 2023?
Yeah, it's interesting because media was who I thought I was, and I didn't know what I had to offer outside of TV. So I clung on really tight to my titles and my job and what I did. And then motherhood came and totally stripped that down. Talk about another deconstruction. You have these moments in life where everything kind of changes and you become an entirely different person, mentally, spiritually, energetically. And that was similar with the job loss from breakfast television and also in motherhood, where it's a complete breakdown of who you thought you were and a rebuild. And like any renovation project during that time is very stressful and scary, and you don't know how it's going to come together, and it feels like everything's going wrong. But ultimately, the project gets together and you find yourself on the other side. So since 2023, when I really took a step back to be with my kids and then kind of worked in media casually and part-time since then, I've learned that I am not just a person in TV, that there is life outside of TV.
Mm.
And that is also, something people in the industry talk about too, that because you become so attached to what you do, it seems like there is no life outside of TV, but there is. And as someone that was really scared of it before, and now that I've gone through it and I can see that media is a wonderful place, it's an important place. We need to do our best to save local media. It is hugely important, and the people telling those stories are important, but it's not who you are. It's something that I enjoy. It's something I do because it's a part of me and I get a kick out of it, but it's not who I am anymore at a fundamental level. And that is really refreshing, to feel free from the industry, to feel like I can step aside, I can walk away from jobs, because there was a time where you would cling to any job, you'd never walk away. So the fact that I've left the industry a couple of times by my choice is actually really powerful. And I often give myself credit for that, because there was a time where I did not think that was possible at all. And I feel so much more free as a result.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And you said life outside of TV, like when you're talking about someone like Tom Cruise, or you're talking about someone like Brad Pitt, or anybody who's recognizable. Have you ever been recognized in public and you were like, I don't want to be recognized right now? Or was it like, yeah, I am Courtney Stanfield. How are you?
Yeah, for sure. Lots over the years. And I always think it's fun. I always think it's great. But the joy about being a woman, which some women will agree, when you don't have your hair and makeup done, people actually don't recognize you a lot of the time. So
Yeah.
that was always kind of a secret way if I didn't want to, be me, to be Courtney from TV,
Mhm.
throw your hair up in a bun, no makeup, hat on, like no one knows who you are. Very different for the guys in TV. My husband gets recognized everywhere and anywhere. People hear him before they see him because he has such a distinct voice.
The Canadian Light Source likes to think of itself as a clean facility, but today we're getting a little bit dirty, and with more on that, Dr. Tom Ellis, Director of Research.
And there is no way to change your appearance. So him and I worked side by side on the morning show for 8 years. Okay, did the exact same job basically. We would go out in person together. I'd be standing right next to him, and people would only speak to him because they recognized him, but not me. And then
Really?
they go to shake my hand and say, "Oh, hi, I'm Courtney." And then they would hear my voice and, "No way!" Like, so it was really funny to see the difference that we experienced for, years doing the show together. And yeah, so it's interesting. I think it's harder to be a man in television trying to maybe hide on those days versus a woman.
I know what you're talking about. I remember a friend of mine, and you used to be really close, and then 5, 6 years went by, and then suddenly I pick up the phone. I say hello, and soon as I say, "Oh, hi, Chris." I said, "How did you Oh, I recognize your voice." I'm like, after 5, 6 years, so like,
Yeah.
even if I went, hello, it's Chris, your low voice. But
It's very interesting. Yeah, my husband's a loud talker too. So, we'll be at like an indoor play park for the kids or at the playground or wherever, and he'll be talking loudly, and you can see people turning to find his voice, be like, is that Kevin? Is that the weather guy?
I know. So what advice would you give to young journalists entering the field today? Like someone walked up to you and said, "I want to be on TV and I want to do the weather or something."
I'd say I totally get it. It's fun, and I understand why you want to do this, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. There is no money in TV anymore. There's no glam. There's no hair and makeup crew. There's no perks. You're
Mhm,
never going to strike it big. Like, the industry is very challenged. But
mhm.
the good part about that is that the people that are in the industry now really do love it. And maybe the ones that were getting into it for the wrong reasons, looking to, make a name for themselves, be a star, make tons of money, whatever it may be, it's just not going to happen. That's not how it is. But if you are passionate about storytelling and connecting and being a pillar in your community and highlighting the good that's happening around you, then yeah, get your degree and
Mhm.
start the hustle. And now you don't have to move around to small stations because they don't exist anymore. So you might get really lucky now and, get your foot in the door at a mid-size station right out of school, which is incredible. But just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
And that's true. So how has motherhood influenced your professional choices? Like, what was the turning point that led you to prioritize family over full-time media work?
We don't have any family or friends around. It's just Kevin and I. And we took a huge jump a couple of years ago when we stepped aside from TV together, for me to primarily be home with the kids and for him to become a video game designer and have his own forecasting business
Wow.
on the side. So it was a huge shift at that point. And then I got back into TV when I did part-time weather over the last couple of years. But having those moments that make you realize that what you thought you were doing was so important to who you are is actually not. So stepping aside together was terrifying because we were leaving everything secure. We had great jobs. We'd been there for a long time. We had, a pension, we had benefits, we had all the things, and kind of threw it away for a wild card gamble, which I know Kevin does not regret at all. It's been a tremendous couple of years for him doing something new. And I found my way back into TV. But I think motherhood really makes you choose. And for us, because we didn't have family or friends around, it was really hard with the scheduling too and our hours. to be able to manage that. Like morning show shifts are no joke. You're up at 3 a.m. You're starting at 3:30 in the morning, working till lunch. Prior to that, he had moved up to evening. So I'm getting up at 3 a.m, going to work 3:30, working till lunchtime, coming home for an hour overlap with Kevin and our 3 little kids. And then he's going to work for the rest of the day and evening. So then all afternoon, all evening, I have 3 toddlers on my own, dinner, bed, bath every night after being up since 3 a.m, and then repeating the next day. So for us, it was kind of unique that he had this opportunity come up and that the shift just, it wasn't working for us. It wasn't working for either of us individually or as a family. So we had to make that tough decision, and knowing that I could leave TV and prioritize my kids was huge. And so then I went back to part-time hours when it worked around his, because he is the primary financial earner in our family, and which I totally support. I enjoy my time with my kids. I don't feel like you can get this time back. So my schedule has had to just adapt around his over the years.
How do you balance parenting, personal wellness, and entrepreneurship?
With Air Out, like shifting to being the founder of Air Out. Air Out is built around my kids. It's funny. It's this passion project, this creative project that came to me in a dream in March 2024 that woke me up, and it was so profound. I started emailing app development companies in the middle of the night because I just felt like it had to exist. So this app was built around my kids, 5 minutes in the car at pickup, or while I'm drinking my coffee, or after bedtime, or here and there. So there really was no dedicated time to it. It was just something I pieced together when I could with a great team of people, primarily out of the States. It's now managed locally in Calgary, the app, but it was built across the States. And so, jumping on meetings when I could here and there, throwing on Toy Story for 20 minutes so I could take a Zoom call to go over designs and function of the app and coding and whatever it may be. But I'm really proud of how it's come together, considering that it really was just put together when I had time.
That's very interesting. I'm going to be releasing the episode next week for a gentleman who created the MuseFlow app, which allows you to learn piano in record time. And he had that idea in a dream as well. That was pretty interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about Air Out? Like, I know it's a completely anonymous chat app, but can you give us a little idea of what it's about and what you do with it?
Sure. Yeah. So it's completely anonymous. You just sign up with any random email. We won't ask you anything else. We don't care your name, your age, any contact information, where you are, how much money you make. None of it matters. Just any random email. And then once you log in, there are 6 different chat areas you can go into: moms, dads, work, vent, love, and brag. And essentially it's a place, very minimalist look, old school internet style, beginning of chat room style, where you can say all the things you don't want to say out loud. All of the things that come to you in heated emotional moments, things that you are carrying around, things that you don't feel comfortable expressing because they're too raw, too weird, whatever it may be, without any judgment or feedback. So there are no usernames, there are no likes, and no comments. So it's really a revelation in self-expression, because traditionally when you look at Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, the multiple platforms you can go on to talk to people, you can be sure that you are going to get dozens of comments, many of which are likely going to make you feel worse. So Air Out focuses on the personal release, what you get out of expressing yourself, moving that energy out of your body, and not at all on the external validation. So because there are no likes or comments, you are free to say whatever it is that's on your mind in the moment, as is, raw and real, because no one is going to respond. No one's going to make you feel bad. No one will ever know it was you, and no one's going to retaliate. So maybe you're having a really hard moment in parenthood, and, the kids are screaming, the house is a mess. You're feeling like, dinner's being burned, the dog is barking, and you have this moment of, I never should have done this, or I'm a terrible father, I'm a terrible mother. These things happen. When we get to heightened emotional states, our quality of thoughts change, and we need to be able to move that energy. If we don't release it, we store it. So it's building in our body, it's suppressing. And now we have a place where we can offload it in real time on the go. And it doesn't even have to be true. So that's another thing too. We often don't open up to people because we are scared of what they'll think, what they'll say about us, or if we even know that that's true. Like maybe in this moment, you really, you're not feeling connected to your spouse and you think I married the wrong person. If you say that to somebody, they're never going to forget. And maybe you'll feel differently 10 minutes from now. And that's the point, that it doesn't have to be right or wrong. You don't have to worry if you're valid in how you're feeling. You can just say it because no one will know it's you. So it's really a space for personal relief and release.
Yeah, we're going to make sure we link that website in the air out so people can check that out. $6.99 a month, I think. I like the fact.
No, it's free to download. Then it's 99 cents a month after 30
Okay.
days if you like it. So it's less than $1 a month,
All right.
and that just goes to maintenance and hosting. Just because I'm just a person that created a project, and any help along the way goes a long way to making sure that it exists for all of us to use and benefit from.
Yeah, I like how it's a virtual diary meets soapbox. I love it, and to support mental health through safe, private expression. I like the idea that the key features are complete anonymity. Then you have 16 chat rooms. You have no likes or comments, safety and moderation. I like that. Um, Now, you have it for moms, dads, teens, and work. You can vent about anything, and also life too, life venting.
Yeah.
Tell us the reason for the like the safety and moderation, like language filters. You said
So we
that
wanted
people
to,
can talk about anything, but you can't share hate or block hate speech and derogatory content. That's sort of hypocritical,
yes.
isn't it?
Not really. It's just making sure that you use proper language, that you're not offending somebody. So there are language filters in place to avoid anything common swears, anything racist, homophobic, anything that's purposely going to make someone feel
Right.
bad. We want to keep it a safe and welcoming place. So you can absolutely express everything that you're going through without using those words. So we just encourage you to use language that is more welcoming, more friendly, and more safe for everybody else. So no, it's not a censorship on who you are at all. It's just trying to keep it a positive space. And then there are some filters for self-harm. Air Out is not there to assist properly with self-harming thoughts. So there is a prompt that will come up to seek local resources and authorities that are properly equipped to deal with those situations.
Yeah, I like how it's a design removes the pressure of feedback and fosters emotional safety. I like the whole thing about safety and moderation. It's designed to be inclusive and supportive for users age 13 and up. So what if someone who's 11 or 12 joins? They can't?
Sure. Of course they can. Anybody can with a random email. That's just our recommended age because we can't guarantee the conversations. We can't guarantee what will be said and really how it will be expressed. So just to make sure it's a bit more of a mature audience, teens, absolutely. I think it is critical that teens have a place to express themselves often without judgment. And in today's world, that is very challenging because everything they say can and will be held against them in any sort of public social forum. And so to have a space where they can actually just say it without worry or fear. And sometimes we just need to say it to see how it feels, to see if that resonates with us. And this is the place to experiment with that, to say it and see if that's actually something you want to carry or if you want to let it go.
Yeah.
So I think teens are fundamental in this, and I encourage parents to show their teens, to help them, because reminder that no one will ever know it's you. So to be able to have that outlet without any accountability is so powerful when you're navigating life's challenges.
Yeah, I like how it came to you in a dream. Like after recognizing how many people carry emotional burdens silently, you want to offer space for them to express themselves freely. Um, I want you to explain the quote, "We all have thoughts, but we aren't defined by them. Don't let them weigh you down."
So it's your quality of thoughts are not indicative of the quality of person you are. Our thoughts are really just a series of words that our brain is putting together to help you understand how you are feeling emotionally. So when you are in a situation where you are feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated, frustrated, whatever it may be, your quality of thoughts are going to reflect that. That doesn't mean it's you. You are not that person. You are having thoughts related to the state you are in. So to detach from them, your thoughts are not you. Thoughts happen to all of us all day, every day. And when we learn to face them and sort through them, almost like a crumpled pile of clothes on the floor versus going through those items one by one, deciding what to keep and hanging it up nicely, or deciding what to toss and get rid of. It's a very similar sensation with our thoughts, a cluttered, overwhelming mess that doesn't feel good. But when we're willing to face it and go through it, we get that clarity and we can realize it's not us, it's just thoughts.
So when you first released it, what kind of feedback did you receive from users since the launch?
So we just launched in early 2025. So we are still very, very new. We are still the baby in town. But early feedback was how refreshing it was to be able to say those things. Because even if we do open up to friends or family, is it really truly what you're experiencing, or is it censored? Are they little tidbits of the truth? And so to be able to say what is on your mind in the heat of the moment, I mean, you could be sitting next to your spouse and complaining about something they're doing. You could be looking your boss in the eyes, smiling along and saying something that's making you wild about them. You can do it anywhere and everywhere. And being able to have those moments are just so powerful in self-regulation, because the more that we sort through our thoughts, the better we are going to show up for our friends and family.
Yeah. So how do you ensure that the app remains a safe and respectful place? You're not really guaranteeing that.
Oh no, can't guarantee it, won't ever guarantee it. And that's where the language filters come in place as an aid to help guide and censor some of the language that is not necessary. You can express yourself without that, but that's really the key, and that there's no user interaction, because we don't want people feeling scared. And often in traditional social media, when you have a name and a face, you're not going to say what's going on because you don't want people to think less of you, and you don't want to deal with the unnecessary advice, the feedback, the commentary. I mean, how many times do you just want to say something just for the sake of saying it? You don't want advice. You don't want to hear what other people have to say. You just want to move that energy. So to be able to do that in an anonymous way is just so powerful. And I hope that people start to shift their thinking from external validation to what you can gain from that self-release, because that's where it happens. That's where the shift happens. Doesn't matter how many comments you get from the outside. That's not where you feel better most of the time. You feel better by allowing yourself to express.
That's true, Courtney. So what were the biggest challenges in developing and launching Air Out?
Everything and all of it, because I know nothing about tech, never in a million years did I think I would be doing this as an offshoot from my career in TV. I know nothing about coding, building tech, nothing. So thank goodness there are people out there that do and can explain it to you in layman's terms. But that was really hard, feeling out of control of the project because I don't understand how it gets put together. Trying to translate creative images in your mind to outside people and explain what you wanted. So the design is actually handmade by me in Instagram. So I designed it and saved it and sent it to them, and they ended up using it because I was trying to explain what I wanted. So that was really hard, to not be able to jump in and do it, especially when you're used to working in TV, when you know what you're doing. You're like, out of the way, jump in and I'll take care of it. It's very hands off in that sense. So that was hard. I mean, it's very expensive to make an app also. Huge amount of money, huge amount of time in an already busy season of life. There were 100 times I wanted to quit, and I was questioning, why am I doing this? Why am I spending this time, this money, this energy for this project? But I just kept coming back to these intuitive hits that it's needed. It needs to be here. It needs to exist. And I've always felt more of a shepherd for Air Out than an owner. Like I got this idea in a dream and I agreed to bring it to life. And now I'm very much a spectator too, excited to see how it grows and where it goes and the hands it ends up in. So all of it has been challenging, but also with challenge comes great reward because you learn along the way. So it's been really cool in that sense to think differently, to use my brain in a different way, and to tap into an industry that I otherwise never would have.
Though, how do the 6 chat spaces, moms, dads, work, love, vent, brag, reflect real emotional needs?
Well, there's not one thought or feeling that would not fit into one of those spaces. So moms and dads, not just for moms and dads, but anyone with a mom or dad. Work, obviously, we all know the challenges of having different jobs, careers, colleagues, and how triggering some of that can be. Missed promotions, feeling like you are in a dead-end job, questioning all of your life's choices. You spent $100,000 on a degree that you're not using, drowning in student debt, whatever it may be. Love, everybody from dating to being married for decades. And that's something that I've seen a lot in the app too, when I go back to the feedback from early users, is that there's a sense of loneliness in the app, and that so many people are experiencing, but no one actually wants to say. So whether you are single or you're married or you're starting your career or you've been in it for years, whatever it may be, we all have this sense of loneliness. And I think it's because we're not authentically expressing ourselves or connecting with each other. So we're left feeling like we're this isolated island where no one understands us and no one would actually like us if they knew what was going on in our heads. So when you can put it into an app like Air Out, you realize like, it's not you. There are so many people that feel the same way. And then in vent, that is for the everyday annoyances. Maybe you're, battling, depression. Maybe the person cut you off in front of you, whatever it may be. And then brag, because we want the good stuff too. Celebrating good energy is just as important. It's a huge release. Maybe you think that you look really good today. Maybe you love your new hat. Maybe you're hitting a sobriety goal or a weight loss goal or whatever it may be. Own it. Celebrate that. Give yourself that moment to give yourself a proper pat on the back.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, what impact do you hope Air Out will have on mental health conversations?
I hope people just feel better. And I know it works. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a therapist, a coach, a counselor, but I am a person with kids and a career and a busy life. And I know it works for me, so it will work for other people. And I hope that we can start to shift to paying attention to our bodies and how they respond when we express energy. It's almost like a breath of fresh air. When you say something that's been bubbling up inside, you feel it in your body. Your shoulders relax, everything calms down. And if people can feel that much better, especially I'm, a little partial to the moms because I understand that struggle so much. If you can get honest with how you're feeling, maybe you don't like your kid today. Maybe if you could go back, you wouldn't be a mom. Maybe, you questioning every choice, you feel like a failure, whatever it may be. It's okay to have tough thoughts. Again, it's not you. So if we can allow ourselves to say what's on our mind without the guilt and the shame, think of how powerful that could be for the collective if we all show up a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter. There's so much power in that. And I really hope that that's where it continues to grow.
Now, you must tell people that this isn't like a dating app or meeting app. You're not actually going to be able to
No.
speak to other people because people are going to think, oh, I'm going to join it because I get it. It's not, that's not
No.
what it is.
There's no way to recognize any voices. So because there aren't even usernames, you can't tell if the last 100 entries are from the same person or if they're from different people. There's no identifying information. So there is no way to comment or respond or like. So no, it's really fascinating in that sense that I wish a scientist would come and study this, because even though there is no communication with people, you get a sense of community. And I hear that from people. You feel understood. You feel less alone, even though there are no people to speak to directly. And that is because we want to express ourselves wholly and fully, and we want to know that other people are doing the same. And when we can see that in other people, you know when it's real, and you know when people are just giving you BS. This is real. And so when you can see that and you can feel that, that is hugely therapeutic for you. So it's fascinating in this world where you can interact with 1,000 people on Instagram today, but none of it's going to mean anything. You're not going to feel any better. But you go into a room with strangers you can't talk to, and you leave feeling better.
You mean if I mentioned something that happened somewhere like at work or a mall or someone cutting me off, and I had like a whole paragraph, I typed it in. How easy you know that people actually read it? People don't read it. It's just like, how does that work? People
So
actually
it's
read it.
actually short. It's only 100 characters. So it's not, if you want to write your huge long paragraph, go to Reddit. This is quick and easy in the moment relief. So it's short, but also it comes back to the external validation. You're not doing it for people to read it. You're not doing it for comments. You're doing it so that you can benefit from not carrying it around anymore. If you feel like a terrible podcaster and a terrible partner and a terrible, I don't know if you have kids or not, if terrible dad, whatever it is, that is going to impact your entire world. How you show up for everybody, you're going to be under this cloud of heaviness. Everything is going to feel heavier. Everything is going to feel worse. You're going to start to compare yourself to other people. You're going to think, well, they have it easier. They have it better. But if you're willing just to move those thoughts for you, then you will feel better. So it has nothing to do with other people reading it or liking it. And that is where this shift is coming from. And it's something that we haven't seen before. And so it's going to take a while for people to get used to, because everything we've been doing for the last 20 years on social media is for other people to see it. Well, now we're just doing it for us.
So now there's no like Instagram or Messenger emoticons, like a heart with 350 people saw this and 500 people like this. Nothing. Yeah. So it's an app where
Nothing.
you write anything you want, but people won't even read it. It's just like me. So this is sort of like an app where, give you an analogy, you would go out in the middle of the field and shout with nobody around. That's it. It's not
Yes,
like
it is.
it's
It
not
is
like
that.
going into the.
And why would you do that? You do that because you're at that point where you just want to scream into a pillow, punch a pillow. It is a virtual diary on the go, a place to work through all of those thoughts and feelings and pent up emotions without anybody knowing that it's you. And the byproduct is great because, yes, well, you can't interact. You can read the last 100 entries in every space before they disappear forever. But again, there's no identifying information, no interaction. So while you can read it if you want to, a lot of people will use the app without reading it because, again, it has nothing to do with that external validation.
Also, other people can actually read your rant. They just don't know it's from you. It could be someone in
Yes.
your office in the next cubicle. You won't even know.
It could be your spouse. And in the early days, Kevin and I were two of very few voices testing this app. And so, there's maybe 4 or 5 people on there, and I could tell who was writing everything because you recognize, how the way people speak. So Kevin's talking about me, and then I'm talking about Kevin, and I'm like, you wrote this. But now there are hundreds of users, and so it's impossible to know where it's coming from. But in the early days, it was quite funny because it was quite obvious. It was Kevin and I talking.
Not very many people know, and I tell not very many people, but before I became a podcaster, got in photography, and I'm a filmmaker. I actually got my computer programming diploma. So I worked in like C++ and creating a software program or an app is very troublesome because you have to have certain things you got to do, and it's very frustrating. I can imagine that people you got to write the app probably tore out their head. You're like, why are you going bald? Why are you going bald? People are like, so I know what it's all about. So
Yeah, it's a huge job. And not only are they constructing these apps, but they're working with people like me from the outside that have no idea what they're actually doing on the inside. So I can imagine that would be very frustrating for them. But luckily, we have coders out there that speak the language and are able to bring so many projects to life that otherwise wouldn't exist.
how do you see air out exclamation mark? How do you see air out evolving in the next few years?
I think through this word of mouth connection, I think it will be like a grassroots movement. I mean, we can't really pour much more into this app. I enjoy doing podcasts. We are active on traditional social media. We had some great press out of the gate. LA Weekly wrote an article on us, which was really cool. And there was a magazine out of Miami as well. So I think just, it's not going to resonate with everybody. It takes a certain amount of self-awareness and a willingness to feel better. So it's definitely not for everybody, but I think the right people that are ready for this type of release will find it when they're supposed to, and it will just continue to grow organically and authentically. And I'm excited to see how and when that all unfolds.
So what would be a future update? Like what?
It's funny. People ask that and they're like, well, what are you going to change first? And honestly, I don't think anything. I'm not in the market to compete. I'm not in the market to keep up with the next tech. This is simplistic. It is minimalist, and it is designed to stay that way. It is basically carrying around a notepad in your pocket and taking journaling on the go. So I don't know where the shift would go. I like all the spaces that are designated there. I really honestly don't know how it would change in the future. I'm just really happy to see how it is now. And I think it fulfills what it's meant to do now. I don't want to complicate it. I don't want to make it something that's bigger than it needs to be. It is just super simple.
So there's really no like story or post in the app that really stuck with you. You can't really tell us because you don't read them yourself, right?
Oh, I read them. Oh, I read them all. I'm on there every day. And I get so excited when I see
really
people.
Stuck with you? What story really stuck with you?
The dad's chat I always will have a soft spot for, because I think in this day and age, we talk about being emotionally vulnerable and allowing men to be in touch with their feelings. I don't think it's actually happening to the extent that it should, and understandably so, because so few men want to be the first one to step out, and really open up for fear of being isolated further. And already when parenting with young kids, you can already have a very limited friend group, and it can be really hard to connect with people. And then if you, overspeak or make people feel uncomfortable, no one wants to do that. And I think Kevin's voice has been instrumental in building that portion as well, because, he would say he feels like he doesn't have a voice when it comes to his wife, the mother of his children, and his children. All of their needs come first. He feels like he doesn't have a place to complain, to express himself, to air his frustration. So we have this silencing of men that's going on. And as a result, we're seeing this mental health decline, which we've seen in countless studies in recent years. And it's because of this lack of expression. The opposite of depression is expression. We have to be able to say, like, your voice matters. What you are going through matters in this moment. So being able to have a space where it is anonymous, I think a lot of men can start to tiptoe into the world of vulnerability. And I've seen some in there, like a man wrote that after the end of a workday, he doesn't want to be around his kids and he hates himself for that. Well, who can you say that to? Where can you express that? Another person saying that they've longed to be a father since they were young, and they're coming up, in their early 40s, and they worry that they're never going to have that. Another dad saying that he wishes he could be the stay-at-home dad. Well, there's not a lot of places you can express this to, but that matters. These feelings matter. So I think it's really important to have those areas where it is a safe space to start to express yourself, and for moms to feel like it's okay to not be Mary Poppins every day. It's okay to have challenging moments. It's okay to question who you are in this process and why you did this in the first place. All of that is valid. And we just need to start putting it in the right place so we can move some of that energy out of our bodies.
Yeah, that's true. If you could, wow, that's quite a story. Yeah, I can imagine. If you could describe Air Out in 3 words, what would they be?
Honest, raw expression.
Awesome. Why not? I'm looking forward to having all this information on the actual description. Air Out will be linked down below accordingly, and your website as well and everything. Thank you so much, Courtney, for joining us on the Unstage podcast. Looking forward to sending this out so people can actually get an idea about the Air Out. Now, I just want to make sure, because I think someone told me it was, what's the price of Air Out? Because I know that I had offers a $6.99 month subscription
no,
to
no.
access all features?
Uh, no, free to download, free for 30 days, and then 99 cents a month after that. So $1 a month, and cancel anytime.
Okay.
And that's
So
for full use and functionality of the app. There are no special unlocked features, none of that. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want any of that. I don't want to complicate it. I just want it to be super simple and easy, and that people can just use freely to feel better.
exactly. Excellent. So I'll have that link down below. I don't know when I can have your episode uploaded, but I'll do my best. Thank you, Courtney, for joining me for a nice interview. I really appreciate it. It was a great interview. Thank you so much. Wait right there. I'm going to end the stream, everyone. Courtney Stanfield, who used to be CTV Calgary weather report, is now an entrepreneur for Air Out.
Something like that. Yeah, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. You brought me back in time to, it feels like lifetimes ago, talking about the beginning days of journalism. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You wait right there. Okay, everyone, we're going to end the stream. See Courtney.